Hi everyone and welcome to What's Happened, the only place that you need to go to get up to date with what's been going on in the world of science this week. First up this week, there has been some fantastic news coming out of Germany. Some scientists, led by Michael De Luca, have managed to save the life of a young Syrian boy suffering from epidermolysis bullosa. This is a dreadful condition in which one of several different kinds of genetic mutations can cause the outer layer of the skin, the epidermis, to become detached from the lower layer of skin. This happens because the genetic mutation affects the proteins that anchor the epidermis to the lower layer of skin, causing them to no longer function as they're meant to. The result of this is that the smallest amount of friction can cause the epidermis to agonisingly blister and subsequently fall off, with many patients then dying from subsequent infections or even skin cancer. The young Syrian boy that we're talking about arrived at a German hospital in 2015 with widespread skin infections at the age of only 7, and at this point in time his survival was incredibly unlikely. However, De Luca and his team took a 4 cm² sample from the boy's epidermis and genetically engineered it to cure the mutation. After this had happened, they cultured the cells so that they could then regraft them onto the boy, and this week it was announced that they have replaced 80% of the boy's skin with the cells coming from this culture, and because of this they've actually essentially cured his disease. Now, some worries that this genetic engineering could cause cancers at a later date, but it is fantastic news that they have managed to rid this child of what is a horrendous disease, and De Luca and his team hope that this restored epidermis may even last the entirety of the boy's life. And moving on to some equally upbeat news, it is my favourite time of year, and don't worry all of you Puritans, I haven't started celebrating Christmas early. What I'm referring to is the Comedy Wildlife Photography Awards. The 2017 finalists have just been announced and some of them are absolutely fabulous. I'll put a link to all of them in the diddly bob below and you can head over there and start your weekend by tickling yourself with some funnies. In other news, there is a supernova that's refusing to stop having a party. This dying star has peaked in brightness 5 times since we first discovered that it was kicking the bucket in 2014. For reference, most supernovas only peak in brightness 1 time. According to Ashley Pagnotta from Charleston College in South Carolina, it's definitely one of the 5 weirdest supernovas. It's too early to tell what it is, but it's definitely a weirdo. Which begs the question, what are the other 4 doing? Because it's going to take a lot to trump dying not once, but 5 times. And I'd now like to interrupt this video with a public service announcement. If you're going to have an accident, try and do it before bed. That's because this week we discovered that fibroblasts, the cells that close up your wounds after you get a cut, switch their genes off and on at different times of the day. And this should come as no surprise because most cells regulate their genes depending on what time of the day it is due to things called circadian rhythms. But with fibroblasts, it's to be noted that 30 of the genes that they turn on during the day are associated to healing wounds. Because of this fact, wounds that are sustained during the day actually heal up about twice as fast as those at nighttime. The simple evolutionary reason for this, at least in mammals, is that most mammals are diurnal, which means that they're active during the day. Why waste precious resources manufacturing the proteins that are going to help you recover from injury if the likelihood of you getting injured is incredibly low because you're sleeping? Finally, we have some baa-rilliant news, if you'll pardon the pun. It's been shown this week that sheep can recognise celebrities' faces from different angles. The celebrities included Emma Watson, Fiona Bruce and Barack Obama. By the end of the simple training process, when the sheep were looking at a face head on, they would pick a celebrity over a similar looking stranger in 4 out of 5 cases. Furthermore, they tested the sheep's ability to recognise a celebrity over a stranger when only looking at their profile, so from side on. And in 2 out of 3 cases, the sheep managed to guess correctly. This demonstrates that the sheep can take a 2D image and fashion it into a 3-dimensional one in their head. This ability probably stems from them being domesticated and having to recognise who their shepherd is. So I suppose that's it then. The sheep will one day take over from the shepherds and will be their slaves. But maybe if you all like and subscribe, one day these fellas will be able to recognise me and spare me. I can always hope. Anyway, I've been Sam, and now you know what's happened this week in science news. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week, you beautiful people.